Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day: Allah understands our prayers even when we can't find the words to say them. Today, the topic of my presentation is National Environment Policy of Pakistan in Clean Green Pakistan, under supervision of my professor Dr. Sair Afzal. Learning outlines: environmental policy definition, policy instruments, environmental externality, environmental policies in Pakistan, global law of environment in Pakistan, and clean green Pakistan, recent advances and MCQs in the end. Learning outcomes: by the end of this presentation, participants would be able to describe environmental policy, policy instruments, environmental externality, environmental policies in Pakistan, global law of environment in Pakistan, and clean green Pakistan. Now, what is environmental policy? It refers to the commitment of an organization to the laws, regulations, and other policy mechanisms concerning environmental issues like air and water pollution, solid waste management, biodiversity, ecosystem management, maintenance of biodiversity, the protection of natural resources, wildlife, and endangered species. Policy instruments. Policymakers can call upon an array of mechanisms in support of environmental policy. The main categories of policy instruments are regulation, that is, command and control, market based economic instruments, voluntary approaches, and education information. The approaches are not mutually exclusive or rely to some extent on education information provision by the central placement of this category. Now, these are the policy instruments main, that is regulatory instruments, voluntary instruments, price-based instruments. The changing nature of environmental governance generally, the balance in the use of these instruments is changing from what was once a predominant reliance on regulatory methods to much greater resort to market-based and voluntary approaches. Accordingly, greater responsibility is being transferred to the individual either directly through the market as an instrument of policy or through policy prescriptions that individualize the responsibility for the environment. These market-like mechanisms aim to internalize negative environmental externalities. Economic instruments provide financial incentives that in many cases are likely to engender better responses to environmental issues. Now, environmental problems, a negative externality. Externality is a spillover effect associated with production or consumption that extends to a third party outside the market. Negative externality, it is an internal effect that generates cost to a third party. Positive externality, it is an external effect that generates benefits to a third party. For example, dumping toxic waste in ocean, emitting gases into local airspace. Now, negative externality exists whenever a producer or consumer does not have to pay for a cost he generates. For example, air pollution, water pollution, or noise pollution. And positive externality, it exists whenever a producer or consumer does not receive a payment for a benefit he generates. For example, immunization or improving our home. Examples of negative production externalities include air pollution, like a factory burn fossil fuels to produce goods. The people living in the nearby area and the workers of the factories suffer from the deteriorating air quality. Water pollution. A tanker spills oil, destroying the wildlife in the sea and affecting the people living in coastal areas. Noise pollution. People living near a large airport suffers from high noise pollution. So these are the examples of negative production externalities. Now the examples of negative consumption externalities. Like passive smoking, smoking results in negative effects not only on the health of a smoker but on the health of other people. Traffic congestion. The more people that use cars on roads, the heavier the traffic congestion becomes. Positive production externalities include infrastructure development, like building a subway station in a remote neighborhood may benefit real estate agents who transact properties in the area, but the prices would likely increase due to better accessibility, and the agents would be able to earn higher commissions. R&D activities. A company that discovers a new technology as a result of R&D activity creates benefit that helps society as a whole. Examples of positive consumption externalities. These are individual education, like the increased levels of an individual education can also raise economic productivity and reduce unemployment levels. Vaccination benefits not only the person vaccinated but other people in the community because the probability of being infected decreases. Then comes environmental diseases. Non-communicable diseases include any environmental diseases covering a broad category of avoidable and unavoidable human health conditions caused by external factors such as sunlight, nutrition, pollution, lifestyle choices. The diseases of affluence are non-infectious disease with environmental causes. Examples include CVD, COPD caused by smoking, diabetes mellitus type 2, lower back pain due to little exercise, malnutrition, skin cancer caused by radiation from the sun, and obesity. Now, the status about Pakistan is that Pakistan is currently going through a period of massive population growth, and this development is driving most of the country's environmental issues. Nearly 180 million people now live in Pakistan, which makes it the sixth most populous country in the world. Pakistan also has one of the highest population growth rate, and based on estimate, the population will double in 25 years. Environmental issues of Pakistan include acid rain, air pollution, global warming, hazardous waste like ozone depletion, smoke, and water pollution, rain and forest destruction. The gravity of environmental challenges in the past has varied in the areas constituting Pakistan today, and so have the policy responses. The policy responses to environmental problems in the post independence period can be divided into three phases. The first is from 1947 to 1957. It was a period of environmental neglect. The second lasted from 1958 to the holding of UN Conference on Human Environment in 1972, which was a period of advocism when environmental problems were tackled in a piecemeal fashion. And the third period from 1972 onwards marked the beginning of a new era during which institutions, policies, and legislation were involved. The final period, 2000 to 2005 and to date, forms a period when the environmental institutions matured, a number of policies were developed, environmental monitoring systems had been established for enforcement. Policies and plan. The National Environment Action Plan was adopted in 2001 with the stated program objectives of alleviating poverty through environmental projects starting at the federal level. A graduation integration of programs at the provincial and local levels were envisioned. National Environmental Action Plan primarily contributed to some capacity building at the federal and provincial level. The year 2005 saw the adoption of National Environmental Policy, which provided broad guidelines to the federal, provincial, and local governments in addressing environmental concerns and cross-sectional issues such as poverty, health, trade, and local governance. In order to achieve its objectives, the NAP directed the Ministry of Environment and provincial and local governments to develop implementation plans. Policies and plans. A number of other policies, plans, and programs related to the environment were also formulated, including Biodiversity Action Plan of Pakistan, National Action Program to combat desertification in Pakistan, Poverty Reduction Strategy, National Energy Conservation Policy, National Sanitation Policy, Pakistan Wetland Program, Energy Security Action Plan, National Drinking Water Policy, National Water Policy, National Forest Policy, National Climate Change Policy. Environmental strategy in Pakistan include National Conservation Strategy, National Environmental Action Plan, National Environmental Policy. National Conservative Strategy, it has three objectives, that is conservation of natural resources, sustainable development, third is improve efficiency in the use and management of resources. The core areas under National Conservation Strategy include maintaining soils and croplands, increasing irrigation efficiency, protected watersheds, supporting forestry and plantations, restoring rangelands and improving livestock, protecting water bodies and sustaining fisheries, conserving biodiversity, increasing energy efficiency, developing and deploying in renewables, preventing and abating pollutions, managing urban waste, supporting institutions for common resources, and preserving the cultural heritage. Then comes National Environmental Action Plan 2005. It narrows the government's policy focus on the environment to four core groups that are clean air, clean water, solid waste management, ecosystems management. National Environment Policy goal is to protect, conserve, restore Pakistan's environment in order to improve quality of life of citizens through sustainable development. Objectives of National Environmental Policy include conservation efficient management of environment sources, integration of environmental consideration policy making and planning process, creation of demand for environmental through mass awareness. Sectorial issues of National Environment Policy. Environmental policy addresses the sectorial issues such as water management and conservation, energy efficiency and renewable resources, agriculture and livestock, forestry and plantation, biodiversity in protected areas, climate change, air quality and noise pollution, and waste management. Cross-sectional issues of national environment policy. The policy also addresses other cross-sectional issues like population environment, gender environment, health and environment, trade and environment, poverty and environment and local government. Protecting institution from environment. It is mainly divided into two categories: the governmental institutions, the non-governmental institutions. And presently, Pakistan has both type of institutions. Global Law of Environment in Pakistan. Pakistan is a member of some well-known international organizations responsible for environmental protection, like UN Environmental Programs, South Asia Cooperative Environmental Program. Pakistan is also a signatory to a number of multilateral environmental agreements and has acceded to other non-legally binding instruments such as Earth Summit held in Brazil in 1992. Global Law of Environment in Pakistan. Pakistan has been a part of UN Convention on Biological Diversity, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, UN Convention to Combat Desertification, UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, Basel Convention and on the control of transboundary movement of hazardous waste and their disposal, Rotterdam Convention on the prior informed consent for certain hazardous chemicals and pesticide international trade, and Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. Now, moving on to our second topic, that is Clean Green Pakistan campaign. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan, that is Imran Khan, launched this Clean Green Pakistan movement on 13th October 2018. This national campaign underpins the behavioral change and institutional strengthening while investing the need to address five components, that is plantation, solid waste management, liquid waste management, hygiene, total sanitation, and safe drinking water. It has a specific focus on empowering the citizens to seek access to basic services, but also making themselves equally accountable and responsible for Clean Green Pakistan. The federal government will make periodic reviews to appreciate the successes through different mechanisms, like recognizing the best cities, universities, institutions through giving awards and certificates for generating a healthy competition among cities and citizens of Pakistan. Now, these were the main indicators of water, sanitation, hygiene, solid plantation, and it is the screenshot taken through its homepage. Objectives. Knowledge and practice. It strengthens the knowledge and practices among the communities about cleanliness and climate change. Voice and accountability. It ensures the voices and participation of the people as an integral part of Clean Green Pakistan. Participatory monitoring and evaluation. It empowers the local councils to monitor and review their cities on set performance indicators. Healthy competition. It creates a competitive environment among the neighborhoods and cities for sustainable Clean Green Pakistan. So the performance indicators are safe drinking water, hygiene, sanitation, solid waste management, and tree plantation. The Clean Green Champion role description. Role of volunteers, that any citizen of Pakistan aspiring to the Clean Green Champion will volunteer to contribute activities under the following five pillars of Clean Green Pakistan that we have already discussed. Engaging educational institution. It has established guidelines for effective engagement of educational institutions from all participating cities in the Clean Green Pakistan movement. The guidelines set clear roles of universities, colleges, schools for volunteer engagement of teachers and students in making Pakistan clean and green. So the major components are awareness. It aims at engaging champions as in prevention of COVID-19 by creating awareness about COVID-19 pandemic, its symptoms and precautionary measures. It also expands the role of champions in contributing efforts linked with the key components of the Clean Green Pakistan, which were water, hygiene, sanitation, and solid waste. Then promoting behavioral change. It can play a major role in promoting behavioral change at the family, community, and society level to control the spread of COVID-19 in Pakistan. The role can be involved in promoting knowledge, skills, resources, from promoting social distancing, reducing stigma, care for children, supporting others affected by COVID-19 disease. Now, there is another agency named as Pakistan Environmental Protection Agency. It is an executive agency of the government of Pakistan managed by Ministry of Climate Change. It is charged with protecting human health and environment by writing and enforcing regulation based on laws passed by the parliament. Now, recent updates. Environmental issues in Pakistan. It includes air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, climate change, pesticide misuse, soil erosion, natural disasters, desertification, and flooding. According to 2020 edition of the Environmental Performance Index ranking released, Pakistan ranks 142 with an API score of 33.1, an increase of 6.1 over 10-year period. It ranked 180 in terms of air quality. The climatic changes and global warming are the most alarming issues risking millions of lives across the country. The major reasons of these environmental issues are carbon emissions, population explosion, and deforestation. Save the environment in Pakistan. Pakistan, we need to strengthen the motor vehicle testing programs in which private sector should be invited to set up testing stations, and it should be made mandatory for cars to get fitness certificate every year, without which they should not be allowed to come on roads. There must be software programs developed for registering industrial data on environment. The program should be linked to every industry with the internet and may be given access to centralized databases in Islamabad. The actions required formulate and implement environmental friendly school policy for public and private sector to ensure the provision of best physical school environment along with provision of safe drinking water, sanitation, lighting, playgrounds, air, noise pollution free environment facilities, proper heating, air conditioning and ventilation systems. Incorporate the subject of environmental science in all classes from primary to higher education. Induction of environment teachers at school and college levels. All public sector universities should launch PhD and MPhil programs in the subject of environment to promote research in the field of environment. Introduction of short courses in public and private sector universities in the field of environment to enhance professional capabilities. Establishment of environment clubs in all educational institutions. The new educational institute school should be established off roads at 150 meters from roadsides to save the student from traffic noise, vehicular emissions, and to avoid the disturbance during educational activities. This environmental movement is our movement, and we can fight environment degradation through a movement because of the young people of Pakistan. If we want to make a better Pakistan for upcoming generation, youngsters, both male and female, should take part actively and learn about the environmental issues and try to tackle the problems. And one of the best solutions to the environment is to change our bad habits of wastage of water, electricity, and disposal of garbage. Now, time for MCQs. MCQ number one. An XYZ country has had problems with air and water pollution, solid waste management for the last 10 years. There are no rules and regulations regarding these issues. The policymaker should develop which policy particularly focuses on these issues. Economic policy, environmental policy, maternal and child health policy, nutrition policy, occupational health and safety policy.
Environmental policy.
Yes, right. MCQ number 2. An ABC country has an environmental policy framework and is basically a task of appointed officials in public. Despite the policy, there is a lot of noise pollution, ecosystem management issues, and the maintenance of the biodiversity sector issues. To overcome this issue, the state should involve the government at local level, involve the government at global level, involve the civil society, involve the government at subnational level, involve the three governments, market, and civil society. Any guess? No, E is the right option. Involving all the governments and markets and civil society. MCQ number 3. Environmental policy issues are emerging as among the most important challenges of the 21st century. The environmental impacts of diverse sources are of particular concern in the environmental policy issues. Air and water pollution, anxiety disorders, emigration and immigration, high birth rate and malnutrition.
A.
Yes, A is the right option. MCQ number 4. An ABC city has a coal-fired power station that releases harmful gases to the atmosphere, including carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. It causes damage to crops, buildings, and human health. What type of environmental policy mechanism should be best to internalize negative environmental externalities? Command and control tools, education information tools, market based mechanism tools, social and cultural tools, voluntary approaches. Its right answer is C, that is market based mechanism tools, because they are the best to internalize negative externalities. MCQ number 5. An ABC industry releases toxic industrial waste into public waterways. It pollutes and makes it harmful to humans, animals, and the plants that depend on it. Government of the country has enhanced legislation imposing the cost of externalities on the producer. The type of externality in this scenario will be negative externality, positive consumption externality, positive production externality, and technical externality.
C.
No, A is the right answer. Negative externality. MCQ number 6. An ABC community has a high child mortality rate due to diarrhea. To overcome this issue, the public health team started the rotavirus vaccination campaign that benefits the person vaccinated and other people in the community because of the probability of being infected decreases. The type of externality in this scenario will be negative externality, positive consumption externality, positive production externality, technical externality. Any guess? B is the right answer. Positive consumption externality. MCQ number 7. An ABC country has a high burden of environmental non communicable diseases. The infectious disease has also increased for the last decades. Environmental disease covers a broad category of avoidable and unavoidable human health conditions caused by external factors such as air pollution, COPD, diabetes type 2, lower back pain, obesity, skin cancer. It is A. Right option is
A. A.
MCQ number 8. An XYZ country has a high burden of environmental issues such as respiratory tract and GIT diseases. The current national environmental policy of XYZ country should narrow the environmental policy that mainly focuses the dash core area of the environment. Clean air and clean water, immigration, high birth rate, malnutrition, mental health issues.
A.
Yes, A is the right option. MCQ number 9. An XYZ country has pollution issues caused by solid and liquid waste. The XYZ country should develop and strengthen the dash sector guidelines in their national environmental policy guidelines to prevent and reduce this issue. Forestry, mental health, occupational health, reproductive health, waste management.
A. Forestry.
No, E is the right option. MCQ number 10. An XYZ school of primary school children has found a decrease in the educational performance of both teachers and pupils due to exposure to high traffic noise levels in the school over the whole school year, which act as negative environmental impact on its area. The Ministry of Health of ABC country should tackle this problem by formulate and implement environmental friendly school policy focusing water pollution, formulate and implement this policy focusing air pollution, C. Formulating and implementing environmental friendly school policy focusing noise pollution. D. Formulating implementing this policy focusing land pollution. E is the formulate and implement this policy focusing radioactive pollution.
A.
No, it's C. This is the key of MCQs. This is the YouTube link of my presentation, and thank you.